When I left the big city of Enid, Oklahoma, where I was a college prof administrator for a couple of years, I went out to Jefferson County. Roy went to junior high at Alameda, and he came home, said he wanted to go out for wrestling. It's fine with us, and kind of was curious, how did that happen? Well, he said the coach came around and he said, "You're from Oklahoma?" "Yes." "Well, you are Oklahomans are wrestling. You need to come out for wrestling." The part of Oklahoma we were in, they didn't have any wrestling programs. He had never been exposed, but he was flattered and he went out. And he wrestled a lot there that year as an 8th grader. And I was new to the Jefferson County system, new principal, elementary principal, and I didn't feel I should be taking time off to go see those afternoon matches. And Donna kept telling me, "He's a tough little kid, you need to go watch," and I'm ashamed I did not. But now we've moved to Evergreen Junior. He's a 9th grader, and he's had a year's experience, and I'm telling you, he and his best friend have at it as to who's going to be the wrestler at their weight. And Roy is it. We go downtown, down into the Wheat Ridge area to a big junior high, and comes their time to wrestle, and he and his opponent go after each other like tigers, tossing each other around almost like rag dolls. And all of a sudden Roy is in real pain, and of course the official stops the match. Roy had a total dislocation of a knee. Even those funny little tights that the wrestlers wear, it is very clear we got a serious problem. But Mr. Ziegler, if I remember his name correctly, the principal, knew the doctor that did the orthopedic knee surgeries and attention for the Denver Broncos. He said, "Let me call him." He did. We rolled Roy up in a mat, put him in the back of a station wagon, and off we went. And that doctor got it adjusted somewhat before he even took him out of the car. Well, they didn't know near as much then about rehabbing knees as they've been able to develop. And Roy did his exercises and so on, but when he went back to wrestle, it didn't really work. But the morning after, the doctor had adjusted it and then put him in a cast that went from his ankle clear up to his crotch. We helped him get dressed. He goes to school. He gets along all right till he gets to Mrs. Marsh's class, Spanish. Mrs. Marsh was about as tiny a little woman as you'd ever see, as pretty as you'd ever see, and tougher than nails. So she hasn't paid any attention to the kids coming in the class. She doesn't realize that he's creeping around. And she calls on Roy. "It's your turn to come up front and recite." "Mrs. Marsh, I can't. I got hurt last night." "Yeah, Roy, get up here." So Roy's dragging himself out of the chair, and she sees through his clothes, and my God, he has been injured. He's got a cast on. You know, she didn't bring him on up. But what a teacher. She wasn't taking any crap from anybody, and certainly not the principal's son. I wish they were all like that. Well, Roy made a lot of efforts to try to come back and wrestle, but it just never worked. He'd get hurt again. But he ended up being in high school, being the manager for the high school team. So Donna and I not only had gotten acquainted with wrestling while he was in junior high, and incidentally the high school didn't have a gym yet, and the high school had their wrestling matches in the junior high. So we'd seen a lot of high school wrestling too, because it's in your building, you feel like you ought to go down, and the first thing you know, you're hooked. And we followed wrestling clear on through Roy's tenure in high school, went to the matches often away from home, as well as those, never missed those at home, and continued to be a real fan and follow the team quite a bit after Roy was off to the Navy. But Mrs. Marsh and Roy had a little misunderstanding. That once Mrs. Marsh saw what the real deal was, that was that. Incidentally, his friend Roger Henry then wrestled at the weight and wrestled at that weight. Of course, they got a little heavier as they went on up to the high school age. And one of our favorites to watch was Roger Henry, who had his own technique. He would pretend almost, in fact, I think occasionally he got called for stalling, but he would kind of dog it, let his opponent work real hard trying to turn him over to get a near pin or a pin. And when the old boy got just a little too careless and got his weight just in the wrong position, Roger would wake up with a burst and turn it around, and he'd get a reversal and get either a near pin. Well, he'd get credit for the reversal and sometimes get credit for a near pin. He wasn't real good at pinning men. But Roger Henry was, of course, with the relationship of the two boys competing for the same job in the 9th grade, Roger Henry was one of our favorite wrestlers, along with a lot of others that we might get on some other day. Thanks for watching.